for congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Title 5, United States Code of the rules submitted by the Bureau of Land Management relating to Coastal Plain Oil and Gas Leasing Program record of decision. The rule waives all points of order against consideration of each such joint resolution. The rule provides that each such joint resolution be considered as read. The rule waives all points of order against provisions in each such joint resolution. The rule provides 1 hour of general debate on each such joint resolution, equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on Natural Resources or their respective designees. The rule provides each such joint resolution one motion to recommit or commit as the case may be. The rule further provides for consideration of H. Con. Res. 58, denouncing the horrors of socialism under a closed rule. The rule waives all points of order against consideration of the concurrent resolution. The rule provides that the concurrent resolution shall be considered as read. The rule waives all points of order against provisions in the concurrent resolution. The rule provides 1 hour of general debate, equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on Financial Services or their respective designees. The rule further provides for consideration of H.R. 1949, the Unlocking of Our Domestic LNG Potential Act of 2025 under a closed rule. The rule waives all points of order against consideration of the bill. The rule provides that the bill shall be considered as read. The rule waives all points of order against provisions in the bill. The rule provides 1 hour of general debate, equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on Energy and Commerce or their respective designees. The rule provides one motion to recommit. The rule further provides for consideration of H.R. 3109, the Refiner Act, under a closed rule. The rule waives all points of order against consideration of the bill. The rule provides that the bill shall be considered as read. The rule waives all points of order against provisions in the bill. The rule provides 1 hour of general debate, equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on Energy and Commerce or their respective designees. The rule provides one motion to recommit. The rule further provides for consideration of H.R. 5107, the Common Sense Law Enforcement and Accountability Now in D.C. Act of 2025 under a closed rule. The rule waives all points of order against consideration of the bill. The rule provides that the amendment in the nature of a substitute recommended by the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, now printed in the bill, shall be considered as adopted, and the bill as amended shall be considered as read. The rule waives all points of order against provisions in the bill as amended. The rule provides 1 hour of general debate, equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform or their respective designees. The rule provides one motion to recommit. The rule further provides for consideration of H.R. 5214, the District of Columbia Cash Bail Reform Act of 2025 under a closed rule. The rule waives all points of order against consideration of the bill. The rule provides that the amendment in the nature of a substitute recommended by the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, now printed in the bill, shall be considered as adopted, and the bill as amended shall be considered as read. The rule waives all points of order against provisions in the bill as amended. The rule provides 1 hour of general debate, equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform or their respective designees. The rule provides one motion to recommit. Finally, the rule provides that upon transmission to the Senate of a message that the House has passed H.R. 4405, House Resolution 581 shall be laid on the table.
Thank you very much. You now heard the motion. Is there any discussion or amendment to the rule?
Yes, Madam Chair. Those were a lot of words to basically say there are 8 measures that will be considered under a completely closed rule. And I will remind my Republican friends that 87% of the legislation that you brought to the floor has been under a totally closed rule process. I mean, again, 8 in this bill alone. You're going to break your previous record of the most closed rules ever. And I just point that out because as we all talk about, you know, the importance of debate and discussion and having all ideas considered, that's not what this represents. I point that out. So we have a few amendments, and I would also say, you know, on the Epstein stuff, I'll get to that at the end. I mean, you guys are bending yourself into pretzels to try to get this to the floor, and I don't even understand what you're thinking, but we'll get to that at the end. So, Madam Chair, I have an amendment to the rule. I move the committee make and order amendment number 5 to H. Conres 58, offered by Representative Takano, which would clarify that programs including Medicare, Social Security, TRICARE, VA Healthcare, and the VA Home Loan Program, VA Burial Benefits, and VA Homelessness Programs are not included under the definition of socialism under this resolution. Earlier today, when I asked Chairman Hill, the top Republican on the Financial Services Committee, if he considered Medicare to be a socialist policy, he responded, and let me quote him verbatim, "I think it's on the side of state-controlled health care, so it could be considered socialist," end quote. When I asked him about the ACA credits, he said they are, quote, "on the side of socialism," end quote. So this resolution says that Congress, quote, "denounces socialism in all its forms and opposes the implementation of socialist policies in the United States," end quote. So therefore, this resolution condemns and denounces Medicare and the Affordable Care Act tax credits by the leading member of the Committee on Financial Services who came up and testified before us today. I think that is dangerous. I think it should be roundly rejected. I would urge a yes vote on my motion, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. Does anybody wish to speak on the proposed amendment? Hearing none, the question is on the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
No.
In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The amendment's not agreed.
Madam Chair, because I think it's important to defend Medicare, I ask for a roll call vote.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Fishbach. Mrs. Fishbach, no. Mr. Norman. Mr. Norman, no. Mr. Roy. Mr. Roy, no. Mrs. Houchin. Mrs. Houchin, no. Mr. Langworthy. Mr. Langworthy, no. Mr. Scott. Mr. Scott, no. Mr. Griffith. Mr. Griffith, no. Mr. Jack.
No.
Mr. Jack, no. Mr. McGovern.
Aye.
Mr. McGovern, aye. Ms. Scanlon. Ms. Scanlon, aye. Mr. Neguse. Ms. Ledger Fernandez. Ms. Ledger Fernandez, aye. Madam Chair.
No.
Madam Chair, no.
The amendment is not agreed to. Are there further amendments to the report?
Clerk will report, sorry.
I'm so sorry. Would the clerk report the roll call?
3 yeas, 9 nays.
The amendment is not adopted.
I have another amendment to the rule, Madam Chair.
Mr. McGovern's
I
recommendation.
move the committee make an order amendment number 1 to H. Conres 58, offered by Representative Gottheimer, which would revise the preamble to include fascism and add new findings recognizing the horrors of the Holocaust, Congress's commitment to Holocaust education, and the sacrifices of American service members in defeating fascism. Madam Chair, this resolution condemns atrocities committed by many authoritarian leaders, but strangely fails to even mention Hitler or the evils of the Holocaust. Let's fix the error. I urge a yes vote on my motion, and I yield back.
Is there further discussion on the motion by Mr. McGovern?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Griffith?
this is where we get into the issue of socialism and the definition of socialism. Because the European fascist movement of the 20th century was based out of socialism. Most socialists today would say they adulterated what we had and what we did and so forth. But it seems to me that adding that in just gets us into what else are we going to add? What are we going to take out? And I agree with what Mr. Norman said. You have to look at it from a broad perspective of government controlling the economy. And that type of socialism consistently impedes on freedoms. And we will know it when we see it. As the Supreme Court said on pornography, and Mr. Norman raised that issue, we will know it when we see it. If we try to get into defining every ism in the 20th century, even in the 19th century, that had socialistic ties or socialistic roots or claimed to be socialist, and there's huge historical debate about all of this, if we start down that path, we will never end. And so I have to oppose the amendment because attempting to define it will defeat the concept, as I pointed out in my statements, defeat the concept that what we're trying to say overall is this resolution is saying that when a government takes over the economy, it ain't good and it's bad for freedom. And so I think trying to, go down the path and define exactly what it is, is going to be difficult. And it is an argument in the past for historians, and in the future
to the young family in a drive-through line. I've been on that line many times. Actually, that line was incredible in the commercial, right? It wasn't a commercial, it was about, but they have the line. The people had no idea. So I made the French fries. The guy was really good. He had a great wrist. He was, sir. He was going like, sir. Yeah. Nice. Huh. It was not that easy, but I got it sort of finally. Not the greatest, but I get it, pouring it in, asking him all sorts of stupid questions. But it was very interesting. Amazing. A little thing is not, it's a little complex, right? To father and son over there that own a lot. They're very rich people. But I'll tell you what, I asked, how many do you have? Sir, I have 59. I said, you're rich. But nobody knew in the line. The line was a long line. They had 25,000 people. So somebody let them know we were coming. It was toward the end of the campaign. And after I did the French fries and did some other things, I then stood at the window. And the people would drive up, a little bored in all fairness. It is, I mean, they're waiting for a hamburger, okay? So they drive up like this. They look over. Whoa, every one of them. And it was fascinating. Every one of them, the response was incredible. Almost like I knew I was going to win when I saw that. I knew, because the response was love. It was great. They had a good time, but we did, I think, 12 people. Every one of them had the same response. They drive up, they this, they get that, getting a little cash ready. And they look over, and some did a double take. Some went like that. Whoa. But it was sort of an amazing moment. I did a garbage truck also, right? And I thought, when I spoke with Sergey and Sundar, I said, yeah, but the garbage truck was equal, wasn't it? They said, not even garbage truck was great, not even a contest to McDonald's. And that's because we had the power of McDonald's. I mean, it was an amazing thing. Frankly, I thought the garbage truck would have won. And they said it was good, but it wasn't even close. So that's a tribute to what you've built, really. It really is a tribute to what you built. But there's still a lot of work to do, and we're making tremendous progress. 1.9 million more American-born workers are employed today than when I took office. Think of that. 1.9 million more today and these are American-born workers. Nobody thought that was possible. And we have the strongest borders in the history of our country. Nobody comes in unless they come in legally. You see the numbers. Everyone thinks it's impossible. A year ago, millions of people were storming our borders. Today, they only come in if they come in legally. And wages for hourly workers are rising at the fastest pace in 60 years. And sometimes you might say, was that good or bad? It's great for you. The minimum wage thing you'll have to be talking about. You're going to have to fight. We were talking about California, Gavin Newsom from California. And I knew he's laying siege on the minimum wage. And you people probably know, because that's a very complex subject, and you people probably know better than anybody the impact one way or the other, good or bad. And you're going to let your local congressmen, your senators know about it. But in 9 months, we've lifted over 600,000 Americans off a food stamp, and that's a record. And it's because we really have a strong economy. I mean, we're building thousands and thousands of factories all over this country. Wait till they open up. You're going to see something like we've never seen before. We lost our auto industry. 54% of our auto industry left for other places over the years. And I think we're going to get it more than all back. They're coming in from Mexico, from Canada, from Germany. They're coming in from Japan. We made a deal with Japan, $650 billion. We never got anything. We made a deal with the European Union, $950 billion, and have to buy our oil and gas and many other things. And I want to say it's good for everybody. All that we made a deal recently with China, where they buy our soybeans, but it's hundreds of billions of dollars. And it's incredible what's taken place in our country. The world was laughing at us like we were stupid people. They're not laughing anymore. They don't laugh at us anymore. They respect us now again. And that's what we want. We want to be liked. We want to be respected much more so than being liked. And you know, in a certain way, they like us better now too. They respect us, but they like us better now because the world was ripping off our country. Not sustainable, not even sustainable. China was making $722 billion. Think of that. Not million. 722 million's a lot, isn't it? $722 billion. They built their military with the money that we gave them over the years. And in my first term, we had a great first term. The most successful economy we've ever had in my first term. This is going to blow it away. This is blowing it away, to be honest with you. It blows everything away. There's never been a time like this, and you're going to see the results, pretty quickly. But in stark contrast to the previous administration, 100% of all new jobs created in America under my administration have been created in the private sector because, we are trimming out government jobs. You can't have, what they do is they give you phony job numbers in a lot of ways, but they'd hire 100,000 people and all of a sudden it looks like they're doing well. They're not doing well because those are jobs they hurt our country. If those jobs can be in the private sector, paying taxes and all the other things, it's a big 100% of the jobs that we put in think of that, are in the private, come from the private sector. In my first term, we built the greatest economy in the history of the world. And now we're doing it again, but this time it really is, as I said, much stronger, much better. I think it's going to be something that nobody has ever seen before. My pledge to every family and every small business is that I will not rest until you are richer, stronger, more successful, happier, till you've gotten a piece of the American dream. Some of you in this room have really gotten a piece of it because you made a great decision to go with a great, great company years ago. And it's really pretty amazing. That begins with making America. We have to do, the word is affordable, and affordable should be our word, not theirs, because the Democrats got up and talked affordability, and they don't say that they had the worst inflation in history, the highest energy prices in history. Everything was the worst. What they're great at is lying. They say affordability. Their stuff was all much more expensive. We have a couple of items like coffee, which is a little high. We're going to get that down. You saw that today. The coffee comes down. Remember when I first took over, eggs. My third day in office, I have a news conference, and the fake news media was screaming at me, Mr. Congressman, about eggs. Remember that? I'm standing there very innocent. Oh, hello. Do you have any questions? What about eggs? What about them? They're up 4 times. I said, look, I just got here. I'm sorry. And Brooke Rollins and Department of Agriculture did a phenomenal job. And they said, don't order eggs for Easter because you won't be able to get them. And they said, we have a big Easter egg hunt at the White House. It's sort of a thing that has gone on for 100 years. They said, could you order plastic eggs? I said, I'm not ordering plastic eggs. We're going to have eggs down by that time. And by the time we got to Easter, the price of eggs had fallen precipitously. We had all the eggs in this country you want. And we know what we're doing. I mean, we know what we're doing. We rebuilt our military. We have the greatest military anywhere in the world. We make the greatest military equipment anywhere in the world. And everybody knows it. And everybody knows it. And you saw that with the way we took out the nuclear capability of Iran with those gorgeous B-2 bombers. They flew in there and they wiped it. And the word was obliterated. Remember when CNN said, well, it might not have been obliteration. Think of the pilots. They go in there, they're under fire. I was watching this from the Situation Room, and you get to see things in situations that you wouldn't believe. And they said, sir, they have entered Iran airspace. All of a sudden you see much faster. Then you see him going down at the whole thing was crazy. I actually said, do people really want to do that for a living? They're waiting for him. but the equipment is so good. The B-2 bomber, stealth. They never saw them. They never saw them. I mean, it's the most amazing thing. And I honored the pilots at the White House. I had them brought in, along with mechanics and a lot of other people. We brought them to the White House to give a little celebration because they flew 37 hours flawlessly. Now compare that to the Jimmy Carter Iran situation with the helicopters crashing and the this and the, oh, what a horror, and the hostages. And I said, we can't let that happen, but we have a great team. General Raisin Kane is unbelievable. The whole group is unbelievable. And they went in, and I brought them into the White House, and I brought them then into the Oval Office, the pilots. And we met them, all handsome. They look like Tom Cruise. They really do. I don't want to be a wise guy and say, but taller. I'm not going to say that. No, they're perfect specimens. I mean, these guys are like from a movie. I could take everyone, put them in a movie. And I said to him, so what's the story with that raid? Did you expect, because you remember I pulled it back? Because I saw reporting that we're going to be leaving at a certain time. And I said to the general, is that not good that they think that? And they sort of got it right. They saw a lot of activity. Actually, you know why? They saw one of the things. They saw a lot of unbelievable activity going on at the McDonald's next to the base where they take off. The McDonald's was doing 5 times. They were going crazy. So they say there's something going on over there. The biggest activity that McDonald's had ever had. And it was a nice story how well it's doing, but that was not a good story for us. So I canceled it and then I announced we're canceling it. And the pilots said they were devastated. Then I put it back in the exact same time because that was the only time they weren't thinking would happen. And we left exactly on time, but that was after canceling it 2 days before. And then we put it right back in the exact same slot. And we had identical planes, the B-2s flying four of them flying into Guam. And they thought that was the attack team. And they were watching those planes in Guam, going to Guam, and that was not the planes that we had. But think of it, they flew both ways 37 hours without a sputtering of a bad engine, without any problem. But they got in and they said they have entered Iran airspace and the enemy's waiting for them. And they dropped the bombs. They hit every chute. You know, they have air chutes that go deep into the granite mountains. If you don't hit those chutes, the damage won't be as big as you want. And every bomb hit every chute. And then we hit them with rockets from a submarine that was quite a distance away, 30 of them. Let's put it this way, they got hit. And it totally took out the nuclear capability. And I said to these guys when they came in to the office, I said, do you guys like doing this stuff? You know, they said, sir, it was the greatest day of our life. Can you believe this, Congressman? It was they're like heroes. They're like American heroes. Who the hell wants to sit? You know, those ships are very big, but they're very small when you're up way high, going very fast. And he said it was the greatest day of our life. And they told me something that I didn't know. They said that, sir, do you know, we waited 22 years for this, our predecessors and us. We would practice this run for 22 years. I didn't know that. For 22 years, we had to practice. We'd do it 3 times a year. We would practice this exact run. And then when you cancel it, because I canceled when they heard that we were coming, we were devastated. I said, see, now if I were a flyer and they canceled, I'd be extremely happy. Well, we're canceled, so let's forget it. But we were devastated. So I said, this is something you really love, right? Yes, sir. We were so honored. This was the greatest day of our life. I mean, it's really great. We just have incredible people in this country. It's an amazing story. And they hit, and then they said, skedaddle, the word skedaddle. And that plane went like this. You know, when it drops a bomb, it goes down very steeply because that gives it a better angle and, you know, more speed for the bomb. They're very, very heavy bombs. And they go boom. And as soon as those things, the one pilot, the first one said, skedaddle. And that thing just turned on its side. And it's so unbelievable. And that knocked out Iran nuclear capability. And all of the Middle East became a different place. And now we have peace in the Middle East. And at the United Nations today, they approved the Board of Peace, which is I'm going to chair. and we're picking the leaders or the heads of the most important nations in the world. I think it'll be a board like no other than perhaps the McDonald's board. You have a very good board. You actually have a very good board. But nobody thought a thing like that was, this just happened today. The Board of Peace, and it's going to be comprised of myself and leaders of other very important nations and very respected nations. And it's going to be something I think is going to be very important. It was just approved. It was just endorsed by the United Nations. It was pretty great. It's a big thing. I think it's one of the most important things the United Nations will ever do, actually. But Joe Biden's prices and his hikes cost a typical American family an estimated $33,000 and hit your workers and your customers and your small businesses. Very, very hard. The Biden administration started the affordability crisis, and my administration is ending it. I'm ending it. Prices are way down. If you just look, so we don't have, as I said, the inflation, but our energy prices are way down. And you know, despite hamburgers being a big business, energy is one business that's bigger. When you get energy down, everything else is affected. If you start bringing the price of gas, that's like a massive tax cut. And they were selling, you know, they were having gasoline at $4.75 a gallon and $4.50, $3.50, $3.75. We're going to be able, it looks like we're going to be able to hit $2 a gallon in the not too distant future. But let's say we're $2.50, $2.70. Other than places like California, that's not fair because they put so high a tax on that you're really paying a lot of that price is the tax that you're paying to government, which is horrible, actually, what they do. But the price of gasoline and the price of energy is way down. So when energy comes down, you make the donuts, you make the chicken, you make whatever you're making. Everything is all about energy. You have to deliver it. You have the trucks, you have the fuel. When energy comes down, and it's come down fast, we had an expression, drill, baby, drill. And I drilled, baby, drilled. I tell you, we drilled. And last month it was announced we produced more oil and gas than any time in the history of our country by far. And when you do that, everything comes down. You don't even have to look at the numbers. And it's all beautifully coming down. And as per your chief executive and your chairman and everybody else, they tell me prices at McDonald's are coming down. It's moving down. Unfortunately, they were so high in the last administration that people aren't that happy because it was so high. So even though it's coming down and coming down a lot, they want to see where it was, like when I was president. And we'll be getting it very close to that number, maybe even better, depending on what we do with energy. But the energy is coming way down. In the 9 months since I took office, we've stopped inflation in the tracks. Since January, the core inflation has been the lowest in just about 8 years, just changed. It was 4 years, now it's 8 years. It just changed about an hour. They just said, sir, if you want, we can rewrite the speech. I said, no, I can remember it very nicely. Thank you. I'm not Biden. In the past 6 months, the price of breakfast items has fallen 14%. Bread prices are down. Dairy prices are down. The price of eggs has declined 86% since March, and much more than that since when I took over. Because when I took over, it was an egg crisis, as we said. And I want to give a very special thanks to McDonald's for slashing prices for your most popular items, bringing back extra value meals, and I hear you're recommitting to the affordable options of Americans that we really know and love, all of the items that we love. And I hear that McDonald's is playing a very big role in that. We're getting prices down for this country, and there's no better leader or advocate than McDonald's. And I believe the next time maybe I'll have to be back here again next year if you get them down enough, okay? That's all you have to do for me is get them down enough. We'll come back. We'll come back, Mr. Chairman. But while Democrats wanted to give Americans the largest tax hike in history in July, I proudly gave you the largest tax cuts in American history and signed the one big beautiful bill. I call it the great big beautiful bill into law. That includes no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. That is a big deal. So the great big beautiful bill is the biggest piece of legislation ever passed in our country's history. It gives expensing to you as owners, where you do something, you can expense it, you can take it off in 1 year instead of 38 or 40 years. It gives you so many things. And I'm not giving it to you, I'm giving it to the people that you're hiring because I'm giving it for jobs. You're going to expand, you're going to do tremendously. You spend money and you can write it off quickly as opposed to over a period of many, many years. The typical waiter, waitress, or police officer will take home roughly $2,000 extra each year because of just what we've done on taxes. And the tax cut bill, and I call it the tax cut bill, is also a big boost to small businesses like yours. It includes permanent expensing. And again, the biggest thing I did in my first tax cut bill, and this also expanded and extended that, was the expensing, the 100% expensing. But now we have the expensing for a 10-year period. So for 10 years. And frankly, I sort of said, let's make it 2 years because, I want the results to be immediate. 10 years, they can take their time. I had a lot of pushback, including from these guys. They said, no, the right thing. It might have been good for us politically, but it's better what we did ultimately for the country. So we have 10-year full expensing. Nobody thought that was possible to get. We also expanded tax relief for all franchisees and made the pass-through deduction permanent. It's now permanent. And very importantly, under our tax cut bill, we virtually eliminated the unfair estate tax or death tax, so you can keep your family business in the family, your children, if you love your children. If you leave your beautiful place to your children, you won't have estate tax, small business. Now, if you don't love your children, you don't really care what I'm saying right now. I've only had 2 or 3 people over the years that say, I take a vote. Does anybody in this room dislike their children where you're not leaving it to your children? And, it's always blank, blank, blank. Then all of a sudden, one guy about 6 rows back, okay. And I thought he was kidding. I said, oh, that's so funny. I'm not kidding. My kid is no good. I'm not. And I said, this is amazing. So he's not so happy with this, but it's all right. But think of it, farmers especially, where they'd have a farm. And the expression, the land rich, cash poor a little bit, but they have a great, wonderful thing and a way of life that they wouldn't change with anybody, not even a franchisee, right? They don't want they don't want a McDonald's. If they have a farm, they love their farm, just like you love what you're doing. But the farmers were dying, leaving their farm to their children. The value of the farm was high. They'd go out, they'd have a tremendous estate tax or death tax, and it would so much. I mean, the percentage is crazy how high. They'd end up losing the farm in bankruptcy. They'd go out and borrow all this money to pay the tax, the estate tax. They'd put a mortgage on the farm and they'd end up losing the farm. Many of them committed suicide. They would commit suicide. It was such a horrible thing that was happening. And we've ended, think of that, the death tax, the estate tax on the small businesses. So I hope you're around for a long time. You don't have to think about it, but it's a great thing for your family, and it's a great thing for longevity. You treat your franchise just like a farmer treats his farm. You love it. I know you're there early. You're cleaning it, little touch of paint here or there. There's a little spot on the ceiling, drives you crazy, right? It's it's love. It's love for what you do. It's amazing the job you do too. I see it. I've been in plenty of McDonald's that clean beautifully. You must have some awfully good incentives because they are really amazing places, the job that's done. But upon taking office, I signed an order requiring that for every new regulation, 10 old job-killing regulations have to be eliminated. So if we put in a new regulation, then we get rid of 10. Otherwise, you don't get the new regulation. And, we got rid of the drip, drip water. We call it the drip, drip, where drip drips out of the sink. States with tremendous water, so much water, they have nothing but problems getting rid. They had restrictions on water. It comes down from heaven, right? They had restrictions on water. So you want to wash your hands, or like me, I want to wash my hair. I lather up, and I turn that, and there's no water. The water's drip. They put a restrictor on. I won't mention the third item in the bathroom because I always get criticized. I used to mention that, but I don't mention it anymore because you know what I think you do. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you shouldn't be owning a McDonald's franchise. You wouldn't do well even with a McDonald's franchise. But no, the water restrictions totally lifted. All restrictors are gone. And it's interesting. Your dishwashers were covered, right? You had no water. I was with some of the people that make them, Whirlpool and others, and they said, "Sir, they won't give us the water to use in our dishwashers or use in our washing machines. The washing machines have no water. I mean, it's like a glass of water, half a glass of water. We need water." And I said, "How bad is it?" He said, "Well, like the dishwasher. They put the dishes in and they just keep pressing the button, being, they end up using more water." So I gave them, as you know, unlimited water. Biden came back with a rigged election and he immediately restricted the water again. But I came back in and immediately unrestricted again. So now you have unlimited water to clean your damn dishes, okay? And other things. Your hands. Didn't you hate that? You walk in to wash your hands. I'm a big hands guy. I like to wash my hands. I used to hate shaking hands. Now, once you run for office, you better like shaking hands or you got a problem. You ever see a politician? No, I don't want to shake hands. Can you do that? I don't think you wouldn't be a politician very long. I actually thought that with COVID, that would be the end because, they didn't want you to shake. I said, well, but then it came back a little bit slowly, and then eventually. But when you're a politician, you have to shake hands. So I like washing my hands. And you'd go into the sink, new places generally, and you turn on the water, and there's literally no water. And how about the places that think they're going to save a fortune, so they spend a lot of money, where the water turns off there? You press the thing, which you hate to do, your hands, you don't like to press. So you get the towel, you press it, you wash it, and the water stops. So they have both a restrictor and a stopper. You get like 4 drops of water. Tell me, do we really get rich with that? Okay, do we really? This is so ridiculous. So I undid all of that nonsense. But we did much more important for you. We've rescinded the insane Biden energy regulations on ovens, cooktops, microwaves, and ice makers that were driving your costs through the roof. You have no longer restrictions in that. I hope you understand. But I did better than that, too, in terms of slashing. We slashed more than $1 trillion worth of regulations, burdens on the U.S. economy, in particular on businesses and people that employ people. Combining our regulatory and tax cuts, we've reduced the effective burden on franchisees by more than 37%. You're so freaking lucky. You are so lucky. These guys are so loaded, they probably don't even know what I did for them. They make so much money. They say, yeah, it's peanuts, 37%. Let me tell you, you should have suffered a little while through Kamala. The good news is she had no clue. You just wonder, I want to give an IQ test to Kamala and Biden. Who do you think wins? But they were destroying your businesses. But I have better than that, though. As you know, in my first time, I also stopped a mortal threat to the franchise business model by terminating Obama's infamous joint employer rule. Joint employer. In other words, you were screwed. You would have been mortally wounded, perhaps. I said to a couple of the people, what would have happened if that? Sir, please, I'd rather not talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. I ended it. You got lucky on that one, let me tell you, because I said, really, I asked one of my guys, because when I was coming over, I saw that in the speech. I said, what does that mean? He said, that would have been death to businesses like yours and others. It was just, these people don't care. They didn't care. But I ended it, and I think that's one of the biggest things that you'll ever have done for yourselves. I think that's the biggest thing that it can ever be done for you. We mentioned all these different items, but that's the biggest by far for you. As long as I'm president, I'll always defend your right to run your own small business and do it well. And some of your small businesses have become very large business. One of the franchise owners here today is Carlos Matios Sr., who escaped communist Cuba when he was just 6 years old. In America, Carlos took jobs as newspaper delivery boy, a factory worker, and eventually became a New Jersey police officer. Then, in 1998, Carlos switched careers and moved to Virginia, where he took over his first McDonald's. Where's Carlos? Is he around here? Let me see. Come on, stand up. Stand up, and your son too. Stand up, your son. Good looking. Good looking son. I met him backstage. He had a knack for turning around poorly performing restaurants, and today his family owns nearly 60 McDonald's all along the East Coast, including at the Pentagon, where I've ordered numerous Big Macs. Right? In fact, he served when the great football team came in. They served. Well, he served McDonald's, and you'd have these guys walking out, the biggest human beings I've ever seen. They were the national champs, right? Remember the team? Who was the team? Remember the team? He said Clemson. That's right. And these guys, I don't know, they were, like 6'6". What do you weigh? Sir, I weigh 392. I said, but you reported it much less. Yeah, that's what they say. But and he'd have like 12 just each. And I thought he was bringing them back to the rest of the team. I said, that's nice, but maybe the team wants them. No, this is what I said, are you going to eat all of them? Yes, sir. He didn't even know what I was talking about, but you served it and you did a great job. In 2019, when we hosted that great Clemson Tigers at the White House, I literally brought dozens of quarter pounders from McDonald's. We bought the whole thing. We bought the quarter pound. We bought actually just about it. Well, he really had no choice, because he just took everything he had in the whole restaurant. We got whatever the hell, probably whatever didn't sell, we got, right? But Carlos is here with Carlos Jr.'s son, who started as a cashier and now runs dozens of the restaurants. Congratulations, fellas. What a great family. Congratulations. So in conclusion here tonight, carry on and really just keep going and inspiring that legacy and that pride that you have at really beyond almost all else. It was excellence in service, stretching back more than 7 decades to when 2 hardworking brothers with a hamburger stand in California partnered with a hard-driving entrepreneur from Illinois to revolutionize the restaurant business forever, like nobody had ever seen. Because of men and women like those in this room who have pride in your souls, love in your hearts, and ketchup in your veins. Did you ever hear that one? 70 years later, McDonald's is the #1 fast food restaurant in the entire world. And honestly, it's not even close. What a job you've done. And it still is really growing stronger with 900 new restaurants planned in the United States in the next 2 years alone. And I think with the great big beautiful bill, you might even double that number. I can imagine you'll double that number. But it's amazing to watch you grow. The big ones, they get a little slow, they get a little fat, they get a little sloppy. This is a company that's gone just the opposite. You've gotten more and more competitive. I look at your numbers. You've gotten more and more competitive over the years, over the generations. Your spirit, generosity, and devotion to your communities has really made McDonald's a symbol of American values, aspiration, and success that's recognized all over the world. You are recognized all over the world, something that, and there's a lot of great, compared to the total, not so many, but there's a lot of great leaders, great companies. But I think more than anybody, McDonald's is recognized all over the world, and as widely as, frankly, the stars and stripes themselves. And everywhere there's a McDonald's, we see stars and stripes. Everywhere the American flag flies, you'll find the golden arches, and there you'll find good people doing honest, beautiful, hard work, and happy families sitting down to a really great meal. Because no matter who you are, everyone loves something at McDonald's. There's always something to have. I like the fish. I like it. You could do a little bit more tartar sauce, though, please. Seriously. I hate when I say, do you have any tartar sauce? Do you understand that? Yes, he understands that. Together with hardworking Americans like you, we're going to pioneer new heights, new prosperity. We are doing better as a country right now, and people are seeing it. The Wall Street guys know it. The stock market hit its all-time high 48 times in a row in 9 months, 48 times during the 9-month period. And we're hitting the highest stock market we've ever had in history. All markets, all three, all markets, every one of them has hit all brand new highs. It's a good time to be making this speech, because when you make one of these speeches, if you're doing lousy, it's not good. And you know, the stock market, you can say what you want, but it's a hell of an indicator. It's really a hell of an indicator. And your stock is doing phenomenally. But the stock market has hit an all-time high 48 times during the last 9 months. And we're going to pioneer new heights even from that. These new heights of prosperity are going to be incredible. We're looking at affordability. We're going to bring it down for everybody because not everybody understands the fact that a great stock market is great for everybody, including 401ks. You know, the 401ks hit the highest number that they've ever been 2 days ago. And that's a lot of people. So they understand what's going on. And we're going to make the American dream a word that, 2 words that you didn't have. You didn't have those 2 words. Remember when Biden said, it's all about 3 words, the American dream. You don't want to ever get in that situation. Remember that? That was not good. It's all about 3 words, American dream. But possible, and you're going to make it really possible for millions and millions of people. And you have an administration that's got your back. You don't have an administration that wants to put you out of business, that wants to take away your water, that wants to have you not use a microwave oven, that wants to do all these horrible things that are going to destroy you. They were looking to destroy you and other businesses too. So together we're going to make America richer, stronger, prouder, and happier than ever before. And you people can be very, very proud of the job you've done. You're respected all over the world. And it's an honor to be with McDonald's. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
In response, you did start down that path. And you routinely call out things as socialism and socialists that, quite frankly, we don't agree with. And the fact that there is no clarity and no definition, I think, is problematic. Again, we heard the